Okay, so I am headed to my Youth Leaders Retreat. I thought I would just chat with you guys as I head that way. It's going to get dark soon, so, because it's kind of evening, but whatever. I'll chat with you until it gets dark, I guess. I'm having a hard time. I'm kind of, I don't know. I told my husband the other day, I'm like, I just feel like life is weird right now. Like, I just feel really off. Like, not depressed, not, I don't know, a little bit sad, but not like depressed sad. Just things feel weird to me. And he's like, well, things are weird right now. And I'm like, well, I mean, yeah. And so when we kind of got talking about it, it makes sense why I feel the way I do, but it still irritates me that I feel this way. We've had like weird days, like the kids being off school because we live in the country and we live on dirt roads, and most of our school district is on dirt roads. And so when we've had some, like, we haven't really had snow, which stinks, which is probably part of what's making me sad too, because everything's just been ugly and brown. But we haven't really had snow, but we've had ice, or it just being really wet and then getting really cold, so it makes it ice. Like literally the other day, kids were ice skating down back roads, like literally in ice skates on the roads. Like, that's how it gets out here. So the kids have been off school on weird days, so everything feels strange. Like, it'll feel like a Saturday to me if they're off school, but then they have school the next couple days. Like, I don't know, that's sort of weird. The other thing being that I've started a job. I'm not used to, like, I'm used to our schedules just being all I need to worry about. Like, and by our schedules, I mean, like, my kids' schedules with sports and stuff like that. So it feels very strange to now have, like, my work schedule thrown in the mix, which makes things, I don't want to say harder, but a little bit. Like, it does add an element of, you know, just extra stuff to what we've got going on, because now it's like, okay, if one kid has bowling and the other one has basketball, which happens every day, if they're not playing like a game, they have practice, so they both have it every day. And so if I'm working, and luckily so far I've mostly worked days, like, or mornings, whatever, but this week coming up I'm going to be working 2 nights, like afternoon, like till close. And so that adds an extra element, because then we have to figure out, okay, can one of our kids get a ride from another kid on the team's parents or whatever. So that's kind of throwing me off a little bit too, I think, and just me having to be out of the house doing stuff. I've said before, I have anxiety issues with stuff. One of the main ones being I get very easily overwhelmed by schedules and things like that. So the fact that we have my extra, like, work schedule stuff thrown into the mix of our schedules now is like, yeah, it just adds a little element to me. I've been doing pretty good, but we'll see how this week goes. Because fortunately I've been mostly working when my kids are at school and my husband's at work, so this week will be a little bit different from that, and that is the part I will probably have a little bit of a hard time with, because I like to be home with them when they're home. And then the other main reason I think right now life just feels weird is because on Saturday the 19th, I got up at like 8 in the morning and got right in the shower. I was working from 12 to 5 that day, and my husband had gotten up at the same time as me, but he went out to, like, make coffee and stuff. And when I got out of the shower, he was like, the dog threw up, and it's like her food was, like, not digested at all. It was like whole pieces of food, like she just swallowed whole pieces of food. And she does eat like a little pig, kind of, like she would choke herself sometimes, where I was like, slow down, dog. But I'm like, oh, weird, something must have her stomach upset. Well, then, so I was getting ready, and she came in and she would always lay on our bedroom floor, right in the doorway to our master bath while I'm getting ready. So she was laying there, and I was hearing this noise, and I was like, what the heck is that? Is it the dog breathing? And I'm like, no, it can't be. So I'm like, oh, it must be like the dishwasher or something, because it makes kind of a rhythmic noise, you know? But then I realized, no, it was the dog breathing, and I'm like, that sounds weird, you know? But I don't know, like, thought sometimes she snores really loud and stuff, so I just sort of chalked it up to like she must be laying there sleeping real hard, you know, and if she's not feeling good. Well, then my husband had come in and brought me coffee while I was putting my makeup on and stuff, and we were talking, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, the dog's about to throw up, and she threw up on my bedroom carpet right there, and it was the same thing, like just whole undigested food. And I'm like, what the heck? Well, she got up and started to walk away, and she was like really wobbly, or actually she walked toward me, which is funny because typically whenever she has ever like thrown up or something, she goes away like she thinks she's gonna get in trouble. So it was weird that she walked toward me. She was like sort of wobbly, and I'm like, Sasha, what's the matter? Like, what's going on with you? You know, so I let her lay by my feet while I was getting ready. She's always under my feet, but not usually, like we have like our typical things that we do that she sits in certain places. So that was unusual. But so I let her lay there while I was finishing getting ready and whatever. Well, then I called her and had her come out with me and get in her bed when I went out to eat breakfast and get ready to go. And so she got in her bed and stuff, and I got her kind of cozied in there and stuff. Well, then she ended up getting out and coming over and laying by my feet because I was doing something on the laptop before I was leaving for work. And she always sits under my feet when I'm sitting on the couch because I'm short and my feet dangle, okay? So she always will lay under my feet. So I said goodbye to her when I left and said goodbye to everybody, whatever, and went to work. Well, at about 4 o'clock, my husband sent me a text and he said, I think the dog's dying. And I'm like, what? Like, I knew she obviously seemed like something was off, like she wasn't feeling good, but it didn't seem like it was anything major, you know? And I'm like, why? And he said, she's breathing really weird, she can't walk, like, whatever. So I got off work at 5, and I went home, and I knew right when I walked in the door and looked at her, because she always will come and, like, meet me at the door, and she didn't. She was they had her laying on the floor, or no, she was in her bed at the time, but the way she was breathing, her tongue was hanging out, which she never does, and it was like a really weird, like really pale white, almost like bluish color. And they're like, we were trying to get her to drink, she won't drink, she won't do anything, like she's just whatever. Well, then it was like she decided she wanted to get out of the bed, and she got herself out and she just rolled, like she got out and just rolled over, like a weird tumble, because she had like no use of like her legs and stuff basically. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So we laid her down on a blanket. It was very obvious this was not something like you're gonna go to a vet and they're gonna fix her up, like. So we started kind of looking online at different things and stuff, and absolutely everything she was doing was to a T how they describe when a dog is dying. And she's 13, so it wasn't like she was young. The weirdest part for us was that she was completely fine the day before, like completely fine, like playful. The only thing she was doing maybe slightly different was she's always clinging to me, but she was being super clingy, like following me absolutely everywhere. And the kids and I were laughing about it because I'm like, watch her, what is she doing? So I would walk a few steps and she'd follow me, but if I stopped, she'd stop. And if I went backwards, she'd go back to where I was. And I'd walk forward a little ways and she'd follow me and stop when I stopped. And so we were like laughing, like, geez, oh Pete, it's like she's totally on me right now, you know? And, but like other than that, she had been playing with my youngest son, like really spunky, and like he would go down on the floor and she'd go down low and she'd bark, and then he'd jump up and she'd jump up, and like just doing all this goofy stuff, totally normal herself. So it was like super sudden. So she ended up, she didn't seem like she was panicking at all or suffering really. She was just breathing very weird. And I ended up we didn't have any like droppers or anything, but I'm like, I feel like I need to give her water or something. Like her mouth, you know, was so dried out. And so I just got like a straw and a cup of water and was like, you know, where you put your thumb on the end of the straw, and like I was dripping it in her mouth and she was drinking it and stuff. Well, so I did it a little bit, and then I waited a little while because I don't want to like drive her crazy, and there's no way for her to let you know that she doesn't want it. And so I kind of did it again a little bit later and stuff. Well, then she got where she kept sounding like she was going to throw up, but she never did. And so then I was like afraid to give her more because I'm like, is that bothering her stomach and making it worse? But then a little while later, I'm like, I just feel bad. Like her mouth is so dried out. So at that point when I was giving it to her, she didn't even like lap at it anymore. She was just letting it run out. And I'm like, oh. So she just laid there, and I would just talk, we all would just sit by her and take turns talking to her and petting her, and she would look at you and follow you with her eyes, but she wasn't like frantic or anything like that. Like, it didn't seem like she was in, you know, misery. She wasn't whining. She wasn't anything like that. And so we were all just coming to terms with that, what was happening, which was not easy, obviously. So I just kept praying that she would just go, and not like prolong it, because it was just so hard to watch her, and it was just awful. And so I had to work from 8 to 12 the next morning, and my husband was like, you know, I said, I'll sleep out here in the living room with her. And he's like, well, you have to get up early. Like, I'll sleep out here with her. I don't mind. You go ahead and go to bed. I'm like, no, I can't leave her. She always clung to me. I was her person. And so, I don't want to cry. And so I just went ahead and made myself a little, you know, got blankets and my pillow and stuff on the couch. And she was on the floor by me. And she was kind of facing out from the couch, because she'd been facing that way when my husband and sons were still awake. And what was really hard was my youngest was telling her goodbye and stuff, and he was like, I don't want to go to bed because I know she's going to be gone when I get up, but I don't want to stay up and watch her either, you know. And we're like, it's okay. And actually my middle son did the best with it. He's very sentimental toward people, not like so much toward animals, which is kind of how I am too. So I was actually surprised how much this hurt me with the dog, because I didn't ever picture that it would be so hard. But so he, you know, had been spending time sitting petting her and stuff, and he had gone to bed, and then my youngest said goodbye to her and went to bed. So then my husband, you know, had gone, and I kept hearing her try to move, and she could move herself a little bit. Well, she moved herself until she was like, you know, alongside the couch in the spot that she always would lay under my feet, and that was where my head was. So I kept just reaching down and petting her and talking to her and stuff, and I was trying so hard to sleep, and I just couldn't, and I just kept listening to her breathing and stuff. Well, then at one point her breathing completely changed, and I'm like, I knew it was about time, you know, it was gonna happen. And so I was just praying and thanking God for her, that we got to have her all those years, and just praying that she would go, and, you know, whatever, and for peace for all of us. Well, I fell asleep, which was really strange, and I suddenly, like, abruptly woke up, like, realized I fell asleep, and I listened, and it could only been like a couple of minutes. I listened and I didn't hear anything, and it was a full moon, so the moon was shining really bright. So this is Sunday the 20th at about 2 o'clock in the morning. I could see her laying there, and I reached down and touched her, and I could feel that she was already feeling cold before she died and stuff too, but she felt, you know, pretty cool and wasn't moving, and I kept kind of nudging her and saying her name and realized she was gone. So I got up and I went and woke my husband up and said, she's gone. And so he came out and helped me take care of her and whatever. And it was awful, because when he went to pick her up, he said, oh, Sasha, ugh. And it just made me feel so awful. Not so awful. It made me realize how much she meant to our whole family. And my oldest son already had plans to go somewhere with his girlfriend, with, you know, some of her family. So he left knowing she was dying, and I think it was better for him to not be there, because he actually had a pretty hard time with it. The next day, I had like washed her bedding and her toys and things like that, and told the kids they could pick stuff of hers if they wanted it in their room or whatever. And my youngest son, he had picked her collar, and which was only right. He's basically only remembers life with her, so I was glad for him to have that. But so he was jingling it, and he said the sound of her tags is like soothing and comforting to me. And my oldest son said, no, it's not, it's just disturbing, stop it. It like really upset him, and so that was very hard for me. I mean, obviously I had my own grief about it, but seeing how it was affecting my kids too, and especially my oldest, he's almost 20, but it hurt him. And he has said a couple times since, like, it just feels so weird. And it does. If there's a hole, there's an emptiness in our house now without her. And we got her when she was 2, so we had her for 11 years. It was 11 years in November. And so we've lived in our current house, it'll be 8 years this year, so she's always been there. And, you know, so this is our first time being in that house for sure without her. And it is very strange. Like, I still expect, I look for her before I go to get up so that I don't step on her and things like that. And I realize, like, we have a sliding glass door at the back of our house. That's where she went in and out to the bathroom. And I always would check, because people would leave it unlocked all the time, and it drove me crazy. Well, now I still check to see if the door's locked, and no one has opened it in days because she's not there, and there's no reason to open that door. Just strange things like that. Like, we realize, you know, when you scrape something off a plate, she would always come running, and now she doesn't. And just things like that. Like, she always barked when somebody was at the house. I knew a package was coming the other day, and I said to my youngest son, I'm like, oh, will you look out on the porch? I should have something coming today if it didn't already. And he's like, oh yeah, it's out there. Well, normally my dog would have barked when someone came to deliver something, so I always knew when something was there. And so I said, oh, you know, if Sasha was here, I would have known it was there. And he's like, that makes me sad. And so it's been very difficult, and I know it's going to be for a while. It's getting easier already. Thank you, God. I've prayed a lot about that. I told my husband I have this, like, inner conflict because I just kept praying for peace about it, to be at peace about it. And I am feeling at peace about it, but then I feel guilty that I shouldn't be feeling peace about it yet. Like, I should still be mourning more. And my husband's like, she is a dog. And I'm like, I know. And he's like, you know, you have mourned for her, and it doesn't mean that you don't care. It's a good thing, though, that you're not, because I couldn't talk about her without crying. It was horrible. I couldn't even think about her for a few days. I mean, it was just, oh my gosh. But now we have a cute little picture of her up on our little fireplace, and this adorable little, it's on my Instagram, you can check it out if you want, at DanielleG78. This little statue of a dog, little angel, and it kind of even looks like her, that a coworker of mine was like, hey, look what we got here at work, like, I think you might want this, and it was perfect. And so, yeah, it's just adjusting to a new normal, I guess, and I think that's why life feels weird to me right now. And but that is life, isn't it? You go through changes and just different things happening, and you adjust to a new normal when stuff changes. So that's basically what's happening right now. But I was like going back and forth about going on this retreat because I've just been so and my husband's like, no, you love this, you talk about it every year, you come back so happy and like full, you know, spiritually. And he's like, this is exactly what you need right now. You need to do this. Even if right now you don't feel like you want to, like, do it. You're going to be glad you did. And I know he's right. So I'm on my way there. So I think I've talked your ears off enough, but thought I would just share with you guys where I'm at in life right now, some of the stuff that's been going on. And I'm probably in the dark, so you're welcome, because I probably look better. Actually, this is pretty funny. I think I've said this before, but my dad, I remember one time, had this pen from a bar that he had gone to that said, you look better in bar light. And I just always thought that was really funny. So, because, you know, people tend to look a little better when the lights are a little dim. So hopefully maybe I've looked a little better for you guys. But thanks for listening to me ramble and just be real about pain and changes and just life. So yeah, thanks for listening. I love you guys. Bye.